Every woman should probably watch this video because you've heard people say men just want sex, but that's not true. Men need sex, not for ego, but for biology. It affects testosterone, mood, confidence, and even commitment. Today, I'm going to break down the science behind why sex isn't just physical for men. It's fundamental to their emotional and physical well-being. I'm Dr. Emma Blake, urologist and men's health expert. And I want to challenge the idea that sex is optional in long-term relationships. Because for men, it's not just about pleasure. It's about connection, health, and balance. Now, before we dive deep into this, let me be really clear about something. This conversation isn't about, justifying bad behavior or pressuring anyone or suggesting that women owe men anything. That's not what this is. This is about understanding male biology and psychology so that couples can actually have more compassionate, informed conversations about intimacy. Because honestly, when we understand each other better, we connect better. That's the foundation of healthy relationships. And that's what we're exploring today. So I've been a urologist specializing in men's health for over 15 years now. And I've had, countless conversations with men and their partners about this exact topic. The frustration, the confusion, the feeling of being completely misunderstood on both sides. And what I've learned is that most of this comes down to a lack of understanding about how male sexuality actually works. Not just physically, but emotionally and hormonally. You know what I mean? So let's start with the biology, because this is where everything begins. For men, sexual activity is closely tied to hormonal stability in ways that are genuinely different from women. And when a man goes long periods without sexual intimacy or release, his testosterone levels can drop, his stress hormones like cortisol can rise, and his energy, focus, and mood can decline significantly. This isn't about obsession or like some kind of sex addiction. It's about homeostasis, which is basically the way the body maintains healthy equilibrium. Think of it like sleep or exercise, right? When you don't get enough sleep, your body doesn't function optimally. You're irritable, unfocused, your immune system suffers, your decision-making gets worse. The same principle applies to sexual activity for men. It's kind of the biological need that, when unmet for extended periods, creates real physiological and psychological stress in the body. Research shows that regular sexual activity and release helps regulate blood pressure, supports immune health, and boosts mood through the release of dopamine and oxytocin, the same neurochemicals that strengthen emotional bonding between partners. Dopamine is your brain's reward chemical. It makes you feel motivated and alive. Oxytocin is often called the bonding hormone. It creates feelings of closeness, trust, and attachment. Both of these are released during sexual activity, especially during orgasm. And this is why so many men describe sex not just as something they want, but something that makes them feel grounded, centered, and alive. It's not just about the physical sensation, although that matters, obviously. It's about the neurochemical reset that happens, the hormonal regulation, the stress relief. After sexual activity, many men report feeling more focused, more energetic, more emotionally stable. And that's not psychological, that's actually biochemical. That's real chemistry happening in the body. Testosterone is particularly important here. Healthy testosterone levels are essential for male energy, motivation, mood stability, muscle maintenance, cognitive function, and yes, libido. When men go extended periods without sexual activity, testosterone can decline, which then creates this feedback loop. Lower testosterone leads to lower libido, which leads to less sexual activity, which leads to even lower testosterone. It becomes a cycle that's really hard to break. But here's what's really interesting, and I think this surprises people. The benefits of sexual activity aren't just about hormone regulation. Regular sexual activity has been shown to reduce the risk of prostate problems, improve cardiovascular health, boost immune function, and even help men live longer. One study found that men who had frequent orgasms, defined as 2 or more per week, had a significantly lower risk of mortality compared to men who had orgasms less than once per month. So we're not just talking about quality of life here. We're talking about actual longevity. That's pretty wild, right? Now let's talk about the relationship aspect, because this is where things get really important and honestly, where most of the misunderstanding happens. For many men, sex isn't primarily about lust or physical satisfaction. It's about connection. It's one of the few spaces where they feel emotionally safe enough to express vulnerability, affection, and love without words. You see, in a culture that often tells men to be strong, stoic, unemotional, sexual intimacy becomes one of the primary ways they can express and receive love. When that avenue for connection disappears or becomes infrequent, men don't just feel rejected physically, they feel disconnected as partners. They feel unseen, unwanted, undesired. And because many men aren't really taught to articulate these emotional needs verbally, they struggle to explain why the lack of sex hurts so much. It's not just about the physical act. It's about what that act represents: acceptance, desire, connection, partnership. Does that make sense? This is where misunderstanding often begins in relationships, and it's critical to understand this dynamic. Women tend to experience intimacy as the result of emotional closeness. They need to feel emotionally connected, heard, appreciated, and safe before they desire physical intimacy. For many men, it kind of works in reverse. They often experience emotional closeness as the result of physical intimacy. The sexual connection opens them up emotionally, makes them feel safe to be vulnerable, helps them feel bonded to their partner. Neither approach is wrong, they're just different. But when couples don't understand this difference, both partners start to feel unseen and unheard. The woman thinks, how can he want sex when we haven't been connecting emotionally? And the man thinks, how can we connect emotionally when she keeps rejecting me physically? See what I'm saying? It becomes this frustrating cycle where both people are asking for connection but speaking completely different languages. When men are regularly turned down or treated like intimacy is a chore, their self-worth takes a real hit. I mean, imagine repeatedly asking your partner for something that's deeply important to you, that makes you feel loved and connected, and being consistently rejected or made to feel like you're being a burden. Over time, men begin to withdraw, not out of anger necessarily, but out of shame. That silence slowly erodes trust and partnership. The relationship may still look fine on the surface. You're still living together, maybe raising kids, handling daily life, but emotionally, both people start living side by side instead of together. And here's the thing. This withdrawal doesn't just affect the man. When a man starts to feel rejected and disconnected, he becomes less affectionate, less communicative, less engaged emotionally. Then, the woman feels even less connected, which makes her less interested in physical intimacy, which makes him withdraw even more. It becomes this downward spiral that's really hard to reverse once it gets going. On the other hand, and this is what I want people to really hear, when couples maintain healthy physical connection, everything else tends to flow more smoothly. Communication improves, stress decreases, and studies actually show that men in sexually fulfilling relationships are more affectionate, more engaged, and more emotionally available. They're better partners, better fathers, more present in the relationship. It's like the physical intimacy opens up their capacity for emotional intimacy. So, no, sex isn't just a bonus for men. It's a biological and relational need. But here's the part that really matters, and I want to be really clear about this. It's not just for him. When women see intimacy as a shared experience, something that also benefits them physically and emotionally, it becomes an act of mutual care, rather than obligation. And that changes everything. For women, consistent intimacy improves circulation, reduces stress, and boosts natural hormones that support sleep and mood. It releases oxytocin for you too, which helps with bonding and feeling connected. It can improve body image and self-confidence. For couples, it builds the kind of chemistry that words alone can't replace. It reminds you both that you're not just roommates or co-parents, you're partners who still choose each other. You're still attracted to each other. You still matter to each other in that way. And honestly, I think sometimes women underestimate how powerful their desire is to their partner. When a woman initiates or enthusiastically participates in intimacy, it communicates to her partner, I want you, I desire you, I choose you. That's incredibly powerful for men, who often struggle with feeling wanted and desired in other areas of their lives. Now, if sex has become distant or routine in your relationship, if it's been weeks or months, or you're just going through the motions, start by bringing curiosity back into the conversation. Ask questions. Share how you've both changed. What do you need now that you didn't need before? What's changed about your desires, your preferences, your bodies? Don't frame it as blame, frame it as reconnection. Approach it with genuine curiosity and openness. Maybe you need to address some underlying issues first. If there's resentment built up, if there are unresolved conflicts, if someone's dealing with depression or anxiety or body image issues, those need attention. Sometimes you need to work through emotional stuff before the physical stuff can improve. That's okay, that's normal. But you have to actually talk about it. Consider what might be getting in the way. Is it exhaustion? Are you both just overwhelmed with work and kids and life? Is it hormonal changes, medications, past trauma, health issues? There are often practical barriers that can be addressed once you identify them. Maybe you need to prioritize sleep more. Maybe you need to schedule intimacy, which I know sounds unromantic, but honestly, in busy lives, sometimes you have to be intentional about making time for each other. And here's something I tell couples all the time. Intimacy doesn't always have to mean full intercourse. Physical connection can be touching, massage, kissing, being naked together, just being close and affectionate. Sometimes taking the pressure off the end goal and just focusing on connection and pleasure can actually revive the sexual relationship. You know what I mean? Just reconnecting physically in lower pressure ways. Because when sex is healthy, frequent, and fulfilling, it's not just about physical release. It's about trust, emotional safety, and the ongoing affirmation that you still matter to each other. It's about maintaining that bond that makes you partners, and not just people who share a household. I'm Dr. Emma Blake, and this is what I really want you to remember. Sex isn't about dominance or duty. It's about balance for your hormones, your heart, and your relationship. When you understand that difference, you stop seeing sex as an argument or an obligation and start seeing it as connection. The kind that keeps both of you alive, bonded, and thriving. And look, I know this conversation can be uncomfortable. I know it brings up stuff. But these are conversations worth having because your relationship is worth it. Your connection is worth it. At the end of the day, we're all just trying to feel loved and understood and desired by the person we chose to share our life with. Understanding the biology and psychology behind these needs helps us do that better. Take care of yourself and take care of each other because you're worth it. Thanks for watching. If this resonated with you, share it with your partner. Sometimes hearing this information from a doctor makes it easier to have the conversation. And check out my other videos on men's health, relationships, and sexual wellness. I'll see you in the next one.